Okay, I've grown to have a near bitter hatred for moralizers, seeing as how prone they are to starting these absolutely stubborn and bigoted witch hunts that they constantly throw out. It's kind of strange. I genuinely use morals to define why morals are evil, which is a pretty funny fucking thing to do. But well, since morals are subjective, my my main point on them is why people should not follow the morals of others. Be- let's try to define this in a better way. I dislike the harassment of individuals for unjustified reasons through intense hatred of morals. Right now, we can see that there are witch hunts against pedophiles and witch hunts against racists always happening, and it pisses me the fuck off because usually the people at the forefront of these are the most unintelligent individuals that you've ever seen. There's one of these people that I used to admire him, but I grew to despise him after I started to realize how absolutely belligerent he is. Ruben he constantly throws witch hunts against degenerates, furries, and pedophiles, mainly because degenerates and furries, he says, are likely to be pedophiles. Now, I will say, in general, being a furry and being a degenerate is a correlation and not a causation of pedophilia. I I understand why on a societal level why pedophilia would be undesirable, because in of itself, if you allow pedophilia, you allow the exploitation of children, since children are not capable of consenting, which is a exploitive relationship which has been proven to damage the psyche of children. I understand that, but in his belligerent rage to rid the world of all pedophiles, as he says, rid them of their internet access or beat them or something like that. I know he said rid them of their internet access. He has gone to ostracize thousands of individuals and rid them of their and shame them, essentially mentally beating them for this. Now, if you are in his Discord server, which I was for a moment until I got banned for saying a rape joke, but you will see that if you are any form of degeneracy, which would be homosexuality, being a furry, being into something that is related to any form of sexual deviancy, you are usually outcasted and ostracized for this, which does nothing but infuriate me to see it, because it is very belligerent. It is very, I would call it lame and autistic. They are spurging out and being absolute. They're being tards about this. They're tard raging about it. And it does nothing but piss me off, to be fair. What's wrong with you? You're being yourself? You're supposed to be homogenous. You're supposed to be an ant. You're supposed to follow my order. What's wrong with you? Stop doing that. Dude, it is absolutely it's kind of funny. It's like seeing an ape throw shit the moment he sees another ape do something like that. It's like watching two grown drunk men fight, because except they're spurgs. It is my theory that everybody that is active in most online communities likely has autism, because they're also belligerent. It's honestly hilarious, to be fair. But at the same time, they're doing something that is absolutely abhorred due to the reason I would say that this is completely the reason that I would say that is a retarded and undesirable thing to act like that is because in of itself you are deciding that no matter what information you hear, you are going to hear one bit of information without proof and use that to shame and beat individuals. There is nothing wrong with beating an individual inherently, but if you want a community, if you want to have any community that doesn't innately have the possibility of causing psychological damage on anybody and leading somebody to a situation in which there would be a pedophile, you wouldn't do such a thing. You would wait for proof, and if you are given proof, then it is fair to shame. And even then, shame is barely fair, because shame is the cause of all psychological damage. Well, yes, most psychological damage. Because shame is also involved. Shame and this belligerency leads to physical violence. And it is absolutely awful. I'm not justifying pedophilia or rape. I have justified pedophilia and rape, as you saw in my last episode. But at the same time, I do not advocate for pedophilia nor rape. The main point of this is I'm saying that Ruben Sim is an absolutely awful influence on the internet and should be treated like scum and needs to be hurt for this, because he's decided to go out of his way to spend his entire career to do such a thing. No, literally. Like, okay, wait a minute. Some of the major pedophiles that he's pointed out in the Roblox community, that's pretty fair. Some dude getting somebody to Uber someone across the country that is an underage to their house for them to be in a relationship, that is a fair thing to criticize when you look at this from a societal, moral level. But mere allegations and treating correlation like causation and treating guilty until proven innocent is the tactics that would have been used in the British Empire. It is a thing that was done in the Salem witch trials. You are being the utmost belligerent retard that I've ever seen, and you need to be punished, and you need to realize, you need to open your mind, because these people have closed minds, and they never open up their mind to think about it. And even then, they would freak the fuck out if you were like, well, what is wrong about pedophilia? Because then they're like, what? Why are you it should be obvious, shouldn't it? It should be obvious, shouldn't it? No. Don't say things like that. Don't say things like, well, if you're questioning this, then something's wrong with you. No. Question everything. Don't question nothing. That is how you become a lobotomite. That is how you make systems like China to exist. In China, if you are caught disrespecting the authority of the government, or questioning the authority of the government, you are put in a situation in which you are absolutely ostracized for this. You get physical repercussions for doing that, and you will get shamed. Now, this is exactly equivalent. Well, not exactly. This is the only difference between this and online communities that treat racism and pedophilia like this is that it's not institutionalized. It's that everybody just hive mind brains themselves into shaming the shit out of people for such things. Now, on the other hand, racism has been a always prevalent thing. People always, in fact, it's not uncommon even to question the power and the taboo nature of racial slurs and slurs in general. Discrimination has been treated very poorly. So from this entire way, I will use faggot as my slur of example because I'm allowed to say faggot because I'm in fact in a homosexual relationship. Now, let's say hypothetically I join a server and I say faggot, and they are the immediate reaction is belligerence and stubbornness, and everybody immediately turns on you. This is an absolute example of this is a terrible thing to happen at all, because you're merely saying a set of syllables. To be fair, if you put things in context, yes, that could be bad, but they don't see it like that. They see it like you said something and you need to be punished for saying this. The word is fine. Faggot itself is fine. But if you're put in a situation in which somebody's like, hey, please don't say that word because I have a personal history with that word in a negative way. That's a fair reason to stop it if you're going to be mutual with each other. I have situations like this too. There are things that people have used to ostracize me before. I've been called inhuman many times. I've been called the Russian kid many times. I'm a victim of harassment. So I understand what it's like to be in a situation in which you have been ruined. Oh, by the way, I'm not Russian. In heritage, I'm Irish and German, but I'm American and born in America, and I speak only one language fully, and I speak two languages partially, which would be German and one that doesn't matter because it's not real, because I made it, that I won't talk about because nobody cares. But essentially, it is an absolute example of bigotedness. Now, if you look at this at another level, there are always people questioning racism, but no ways people questioning pedophilia. Because in every household, in every single one of them, pedophilia has been absolutely demonized. Only in some households has racism been demonized. So we can see a clear correlation between living in a household that is demonized racism and a household that is demonized pedophilia. Because I was born in the South and I never had racism demonized to me. Now, of course, my parents are not racists, nor do they advocate for racism. In fact, they have told me to never use slurs before. And because of this, I've always had the ability to question it. But everybody has absolutely cracked down on pedophilia instead. Now, of course, Adam Lanza tried to justify pedophilia. I think he had a lot of thoughts on it, but I will say I do not think pedophilia is an alright thing. I think that you should I think that pedophilia and I do not tolerate people who rape children, and I don't hang out with them because they're choosing to do something that is very obviously hurtful and exploitive. It's the same situation as being around a group of people that constantly banter with you, tell you they're not making fun of you, but they keep doing it over and over again to the point of harassment. It in of itself is mentally scarring, and I understand why it would be mentally scarring. But in of itself, I've come to loathe such witch hunts. There are always a witch hunt going on in usually most groups. Most groups have a single group of people that they disdain. Everybody's in their own moral war, where they war against the morals of others. This has led to me coming to an overarching rule of tolerance, in which I hate the intolerant, and that is who I decide to have a war against in my head. Because the intolerant are bigoted, they are stubborn, they are stupid, and they are vessels to let people communicate their message through. The intolerant are the stupidest people on earth, because they do not question why they are intolerant of such things. Listen, 75% of the time when people are intolerant, they have no personal history with what they are intolerant towards. Because they are retarded. They are all stupid. Every last one of them. They always need to be forced and known. They need to be they need to have their mind open. I don't care through what methods, through smoking cannabis or whatever they say they said it opens the mind or some shit like that. I don't care. You need to have your mind opened, whether through being whipped and physically hurt into questioning everything, or into being physically isolated until you can do not but question everything. Because the morally intolerant in of themselves are people that do not but communicate and exact the orders of the people who use morals to influence the world and control people. You are letting people control you by doing that. Fights devil. In general, this is my statement on this. I might try to let Ruben Sim know about this if possible. I doubt he'd respond to me because I'm very underground. But in the case where he does, I would love to hear what he has to say. Besides just, what is wrong with you? Why would you question that? Because if you say something like that, you aren't thinking. You are retarded, and you need to be whipped. If I would see you in real life, I would hit you for saying that. Although doing that is very apish itself, and to be fair. Of course, you would probably say something way worse to me. Like I need to be imprisoned my whole life and kept alive and be tortured for questioning that. Because you also would believe in such Chinese thoughts. But coming up with assumptions that are essentially insults does not to help my argument in any way whatsoever. Lest he says something like that. Which I wouldn't expect him to. Because he's gonna... the way he does, he's always looking into everything, to be fair. He always tries to find as much shit as he can to argue for himself. I also kind of like it how he denies the fact that old people shouldn't be playing Roblox. Because he basically says it's correlation and not causation for pervertedness for doing such a thing. When in of itself, he uses the idiosyncrasy of being a furry or degenerate, which is very ironic. It's almost hilarious, to be fair. His community is entirely of idiosyncratic degenerates too. They all tolerate slurs. They're all crazy. They've all been bullied too. It's just they're retarded. So instead of thinking about, I dislike that people are intolerant to me belligerently. No, they just let it slide. They don't care about it, and then they go do their own thing. It's honestly funny as shit. Yeah, Ruben Sim is a massive piece of shit.